Family communication is a specific type of interpersonal communication that is unique. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but one of them is that the family is like a system in a way that two individuals interacting is not. So families have hierarchies and power structures which make them unique. There's also an element of small group communication that has to be managed. So family systems theory describes this and gives us the terms we need to better describe families and understand why families are like a system and what that means for us if we're wanting to learn more about family communication. So systems theory focuses on things that are like organisms, and it comes from the hard sciences and actual research on organisms, but we can apply it to families to better understand family communication. So this perspective describes families as living organisms, and it's really an apt descriptor because families are constantly changing, they're dynamic, we're adding members, we're losing members. The members themselves are changing, so all the parts of the whole are changing. And the most important part about family as a system is that a family is more than the sum of its parts, which is key to systems theory. So the idea that if we take four people and we put them together, they become something more than just four individuals added together, if that makes sense. So there's a bond that happens, there's a sense of belonging that often happens in families that kind of goes above and beyond any kind of set of interpersonal relationships. Families also have feedback loops, so this idea that we can adapt and change to our environment. So if a family moves to a new place, or a member of the family gets married, or has a child, there's adaptation that happens, which is pretty amazing actually, that we kind of adapt, and you can see it happening in families through time. There are different subsystems within the family that we can talk about. The first one is the partner subsystem. So this is typically the top of the hierarchy, right? It might be the parents of the family, grandparents of the family. And we know that quality of communication really predicts satisfaction in this partner subsystem. When two partners choose, if they choose to have a child or adopt a child, they change their family system. Something happens when a new member is added into that family system. Everyone has to adapt and change. And the research shows a major decline in marital satisfaction when that third member is added. This decline does get better over time, but it's definitely a big adjustment period for new parents. And there's a couple things that can account for this. One is that the new parents are probably, if they've had this child, they've birthed this child, they're probably not getting very much sleep, and that can cause some tension and increased stress. But this decline in marital satisfaction is compensated often by a huge increase in love and joy in having this new child. Another subsystem within a family system is the parent-child subsystem. So this is the unique relationship between each parent and child, and it's a relationship of mutual socialization. So if you think about how much your parents have taught you, you also have taught them a lot, especially in the technology age that we're living in now. Children are often teaching their parents a lot of new skills. Supportive messages are especially important in the parent-child subsystem, so we know that support is really key in building children's self-esteem and self-concept, which has all kinds of benefits in adulthood. They have better relationships, more long-lasting relationships, higher quality of life. The sibling subsystem is the last subsystem we'll talk about, another really unique subsystem because it's different than any of the other relationships within the family. The sibling subsystem is typically non-voluntary, which means that it's not typically chosen by either member. It's often, you're kind of born with your siblings. You may have adopted siblings, you may have friends that are like siblings, but typically this is a non-voluntary relationship, which makes it interesting because you're kind of obligated to this person, but you have not chosen them. It's also called a cradle-to-grave relationship. Siblings are usually our longest lasting relationships. They're often there when we're born or soon after, and they're there with us until death, unlike our partners that we choose in adulthood or our parents who often will pass before we do. The sibling relationship remains important for people throughout the lifespan. In terms of communication and contact, it's usually high in childhood and through high school, and then it tends to dip in middle adulthood as people create their own families and get busy with work and careers, and then it increases again in older adulthood when people have more time to reminisce, and these are the people who have known them their whole lives. Also, commitment to the sibling relationship remains high throughout the lifespan. I hope you found these family subsystems interesting.